I remember decades ago listening to this song, and we'll play the part later where it talks, it's got quotes of George Herbert Walker Bush talking about right and wrong, good and evil, New World Order. And Al Jourgensen, the founder of Ministry, is our guest and influenced, so much of the modern music that's out there. I think it's great. Also appreciate their album they put out a few years ago, dealing with 9/11 being an inside job. And we'll play some of that music coming up today. Al Jourgensen from his compound in El Paso, Texas. He is the founder and frontman of the Grammy-nominated industrial metal band Ministry. He's also known as Al Jourgensen, Hypo Lux, Dog Alien Dog Star, and Buck Satan. In Al's 30-plus music career, he has created such bands as, and it just goes on through them, and he joins us. And one of the last albums he put out was a Rio Grande Blood. I thought was excellent. And we'll talk more about that with him here on the broadcast today. They're on Facebook at facebook.com/ministry and 13 planetrecords.com and a lot more. And I wanted to get him on because obviously I saw that album dealing with 9/11 Truth, and we was wondering how 20 years ago or more now was he talking about the New World Order and global government and all of these issues, and get a view on really his political ideas and what Ministry has really stood for. Al, good to have you here on the show with us.
What's up, Alex?
We're just broadcasting worldwide. There's so much to talk about, but you said out of the gates that you have a bone to pick with me. So let's just get it out here on the table right now, because you're rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. Slap Jones around some. I'm going to slap you around, too. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sure you will. But I've been listening all morning, and been listening to this gold shilling, which is very Glenn Beckish, I think, because okay. Is a 12 apocalypse, whether it's the magnetic shift or the solar flare or an asteroid that the government isn't telling us that's coming because they don't want chaos. You really think gold is going to get you through those days? Okay, so obviously the banking system is done, okay, after an apocalyptic, hell. You think that by buying supplies in gold, that you're not going to be targeted for having gold and having rampaging marauders ransacking your house, which is it's going to fall into anarchy, is going to keep you safe? Really? I think this is just another scam of just like making money for certain people, a certain few, the gold traders, on you have to have that as a safety net. What's the safety net after a post-apocalyptic future? What is the safety net? I would say by batteries, water, and bread, and maybe a few guns, okay? That's your safety net.
Maybe a few guns.
yeah, like a few hundred guns, which you've been dealing on this morning with the new ATF rule, okay, so just go extra time and buy 400 rounds and 2 guns twice a week, really, if you want to be prepared for that, gold and silver is not the answer. Who's going to take gold on precious resources when resources are so scarce and there is no banking system? Gold and silver are a farce. This is another conspiracy to get people to spend money to make a select few a lot of money.
All right, let me counter that. I think that's fair. Let me respond to that, Al. All I know is I was a silver and gold purchaser before I ever had sponsors, and I have a sponsor who I know has really great deals, and that's where I buy my gold and silver. I bought silver, and a lot of what I bought was at $5, $6 an ounce. Now it's above 40. I bought gold. A lot of what I have at 300, 400, 500. It's at 1,600. They're killing the dollar. And hold on. Let me just counter you. That's like saying I shouldn't have kids because somebody might hurt them or they might die in a car wreck. To say that marauders might come take my guns. Listen, I'm not turning my gold into the government. I'm not turning anything to marauders. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill marauders.
Listen, gold's going to be worthless and dollars going to be worthless. What's going to be worthwhile is survival techniques if you want to live in that world. Me, I got my Glock 9. and I'm going to wait till my food runs out after 2012, and then I'm going to put a Glock 9 or a Beretta to the roof of my mouth and have a big party and go out in a peaceful way. All right?
So you really think it's the end of the world? I don't think it is.
Well, I really do, and I'm not one of these, like, you know, it's really funny. I have a 2012 tattoo, and I got it like 3 days before this initial crisis of some sect saying, like, the world was going to end, you know, a few months ago. And I'm going, if the earth starts rumbling, I'm going to go, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to the tattoo shop and getting a rebate on my 2012 tattoos.
All right. Well, Al, now it makes sense. If you really think that it's the end of the world, then yes, you should.
Well, I hate to quote REM, but it's the end of the world as we know it.
Okay.
And there's no doubt about that.
Okay, well, listen, we disagree on that. And, Al, I want to talk about it, but that's a pretty bold accusation earlier. So, I do need to counter it here. So, you're here, you said it, and then I want to hear you roll because you're here and I want to hear your ideas. You're a very interesting person, and I admire your music and your art. But now I understand. Absolutely. If you think the world's ending in the next year and a half or less.
No. I don't think the world's ending. I think the world is going to change dramatically.
Well, there's no point in getting gold and silver if you think the world's going to end. But it's been a great investment, and I believe in it, and I do have survival people on.
Okay, well, listen, my monitor man has a lot of money tied in gold. You know what he just did with it? As of yesterday, he sold it all. And you know what he bought? Bread, batteries, and water.
That's a lot of bread, batteries, and water.
Yeah. A lot of bread, batteries, and water because he wants to survive in that climate.
What about that gold tooth, Al? You got a gold tooth. That's a scam.
I got a gold tooth. Well, maybe somebody can yank it off me after, like, the marauding bands of, like, rampagers and anarchists just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Will overrun the compound with food and water and gold and take your stuff. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
El Paso is pretty apocalyptic looking. Why do you live in El Paso? Does it suit your Diablo essence?
Well, El Paso's an interesting city. It's always been an outlaw city. When the Spanish conquistadors came here, and we have we have churches here from 1590 and things like this of people passing through to California. That's what they call it, El Paso. It's the pass between the mountains before you go west. And it's always been an outlaw town. It's got the world's largest, Harley distributorship here. So it's pretty much bikers and outlaws, and I seem to fit in here for whatever reason. And I like it here. I've been here 9 years. I've got it tattooed on my neck, the name of the city, and I plan on staying. So, there's where we're at.
Now, it does look like something out of Road Warrior in El Paso when you drive in and all those ancient-looking hills and all the radio towers and, wreckage and junk all over the sides of the road and then the city and the people. It is beautiful in an ugly way. El Paso is a very interesting town. Now, I want to get away from this in a moment, but I want to go back to something, Al. I know we're going to be here after 2012. We're going to defeat the New World Order. We're going to defeat their designed implosion of the world economy. And we're not going to...
the only way we're going to defeat the New World Order is for the people to finally get so fed up by the Republicans destroying the middle class to where people have no money. Here's what cracks me up about the Republicans. It's such short-term sightedness. Okay, let's put the piggyback on to the middle class. So the middle class has nothing, and the CEOs make everything, okay? Although, in a few years, who's going to buy their product? Well, they're making record profit bonuses every year, okay? And at the end of that, who's going to buy their product if no one has money? So therefore, they're thinking short-term cash grab game, and they're not thinking long-term of how to sustain an economy. They're thinking short-term cash grab, which is what's happening
in the energy
industry. What?
It's a cannibalistic economy.
No, it's a short-sighted economy.
Yeah.
These freshmen in the Republican Congress have been reading way too much Ayn Rand, all right? It's like, if I don't get my way, I'm going to blow up the building. And that's what they're doing, okay? That's what they're doing. You may hate Obama. You may think he's a scumbag and all that. You know what? He's dealing with the realities of Washington. And no, it's not easy for anybody. It was easy for W because of his bloodline and this and that, and people, like, fell into line, just like, Goose Step. But with Obama, a black president, oh, my God, no, we can't have this. So, we'd rather blow up the building, as Ayn Rand said, than pursue with policies that might actually do good. I mean, I'm thinking, if we had a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president, and I mean Congress and Senate, we would have infrastructure right now. We would have the things that would make this country grow and leave things for our future. As of right now, the short-sighted terms of the CEOs, which is the Republican overlords, just want immediate cash, and they'll build their bunkers. Here's a decent point. Okay, Bush is so cozy. Bush was so cozy with the Saudis and all this stuff. Yet, him and the CIA director, Woolsey, under the Clinton administration, both have solar-powered houses. Now, why is it good enough for them but not good enough for us?
Well, again, we're talking to the founder of Ministry. Al, look, I totally agree that the Republican leadership are bad, but Obama
they're not
is
bad. They're just misinformed, and they're talking to their overlords.
Well, they're running everything.
And even the overlords don't see that if you destroy the middle class, there is no consumption. And people don't consume. The overlords, sure, they have CEO record bonuses, but that's not only going to last for a couple of years because there's nobody there to buy anything.
Al, this is a planned post-industrial economy. You're saying they don't see what they're doing. I can give you the handbooks, the white papers where this has been planned for at least 50 years, what we're entering. It's called a post-industrial world. They hate the middle class. The ultra-rich have always sought to destroy it, so there's a giant underclass and a tiny group on top. And all I'm saying is, versus the rhetoric and reality, Obama has continued all of the Bush policies. But
right. I agree. But what's Obama up against? An established, entrenched oligarchy, okay? So, from community organizer to, like, trying to do what's right versus these satanic people, it's a pretty difficult task. I'm going to cut him some slack for right now, okay? Like, I just hope they don't inject the alien bloodline DNA into him as well, so he acts in accordance with his overlords. But he's putting up as much of a fight as he can, and, I'll leave it at that. I mean, really, what we're dealing with is not government at all, but, like, really short-sighted. Look, this is what makes me think that 2012 is an actual reality. It's not the Mayans and some, like, crazy paintings of a guy in a spaceship on a tomb or anything. It's the fact that, okay, here we go. Here's a guy that has a website named Darren McClung, and it's called 2012 Supplies, okay? And this guy is selling things, survival kits, for the masses. Yet he has a really hard time getting these supplies because the government keeps buying it up all each month, okay? So what does that tell you? I mean, you've seen the movies, like anything from Contact to Armageddon to, 2012, whatever. The government knows something's going on.
Yeah, what's going on is they're buying all
the supplies.
Yes, they are. They've been building a giant COG system for 60 years, underground bases, NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, Mount Weather, all of it, Site R. They are been training the military for 2012 for at least 15 years for mass gun confiscations, riots, total shutdown, because they have planned the implosion of the global economy to build the global government on top of it that we will pay our carbon taxes to. They are destroying the planet through economic warfare. The globalists took over to shut off.
I have a bone to pick with you on that, too. Okay, so the ions from space are coming, and they're warming up our planet. we're not helping it. Listen, it now reached 7 billion people today on this planet, okay? By 2012, it'll be 7.5 billion people. That's too many people for the resources, okay? It's like the same thing as the dinosaurs. They didn't have a global positioning and satellites and rockets and all that to destroy an asteroid, but they were overpopulated. And when they're overpopulated and they have no other skills, they're going to go down.
The dinosaurs were overpopulated now?
Yes. The top 1% have all their bunkers and all that. That's why it's a giant cash grab now. Fossil fuel is just a completely irrelevant thing right now. Like I said, Bush and Woolsey have their solar panel houses and generators waiting for the apocalypse because the 1% will survive. And then we'll have a new society after 6 to 7 billion people die in the next apocalypse. And they'll have their cushy home. And then they'll start another system the same as the one that we have.
Al, do you want to know my view on this? Because I've really studied it in depth, and I know you've done some studying and talking about the New World Order before I was, so I understand you've got some deep political and geopolitical ideas here, but they have implanted through the fake Christian groups that it's the end of the world, Jesus is coming back, so stand down to corruption. They've used the 2012 stuff for 30 years, implanted as a self-fulfilling prophecy to expect total collapse and devastation because they are launching their operation to depopulate on schedule in the next decade, and 2012...
I agree, except for the fact that they're talking about finances. I'm talking about people. People are going to die. They're so callous to the whole notion of 6, 7 billion people dying as long as they make their money and they have their cush bunkers, okay, with survival kits, that they don't care. Yeah, they've been planning for the economic collapse for 30 years, but they haven't been planning, and nor do they care about the populace, okay? So, call me left-wing on that one. I'm right-wing on other things.
Well, let me back you up on something. I've confirmed with top construction companies that are listeners, some of which have been guests here, that every CIA high-level person, every person that's worth hundreds of millions or billions, and in the upper echelon, within the last 5 years, have built bunkers everywhere and have bunkers underneath their houses and are totally freaked out. So I believe from things that they've said and done, they're looking at releasing airborne Ebola that's weaponized. It'll kill 99% of people. And
probably that'll be like the least of our worries. Trust me. I mean, that sounds horrible in its essence, but that'll be the least of our worries. And it's so funny that the 1% that ran the world before, after end of the world as we know it, will run it again. That's what freaks me out. So if we want to tax the rich, go ahead and tax the rich. That's what I say. Let them pay for some fair share of like giving us our last few years as we know it, because there will be survivors.
But see, that's the psychological...
And what do survivors do? They break into anarchy. They break into groups. They break into tribalism. So like gold and silver is going to hold you off from them? No. They'll just kill you and take your gold and silver.
Well, that's giving up. And look, then you can cash...
No, it's not giving up. It's not giving up because human beings will survive. And how do they survive? They band together. They make groups. They make gangs, which is why, like, I see the appeal of gangs amongst the youth today is because it gives them a sense of purpose. And it's the same thing that's going to happen, okay? Whether it's like a magnetic polar shift, a solar flare, or an asteroid that the government isn't telling us about. One or the other, there's going to be some crap hitting the fan coming up soon, okay? Coming up soon, one way or the other, okay? Like right now, I could see us like trying to build China into the main enemy. That's not our main enemy. Our main enemy is ourselves and our greed, because the 1% that runs it now and the 1% that will run it after the apocalypse will be the same people, and it's the same greed.
Yeah. Al Jourgensen?
Greed is the power of humanity, not external sources.
Yeah, Al, just to be clear here, though, I believe that things are not going to be as bad as a lot of people think during 2012. It is going to be artificial, just like the collapse is designed. They have Warren Buffett and everybody come out.
Just like our debt ceiling, just like the Republicans make this an artificial crisis. Tell me greed doesn't rule this planet. Just tell me that. I want to hear that from your mouth.
Well,
tell me greed does not
I mean, that's
rule
like
this
saying,
planet.
tell me the sky isn't blue. But Al, that's not even what I'm saying here. The Republicans, the people holding it up are the Tea Party, who aren't fully informed, but they see us being completely bankrupted if we don't cut spending. Then they have all the billionaires out like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates saying, I don't pay hardly any taxes. Raise my taxes, but you get the tax plan. They're exempt offshore, and they're going after folks making $125,000 individually, $250,000 in a family. That's not rich, Al. With the
listen, man, I've got offshore accounts. I've got them. I've made my money in music. I'm ready to go. I'm living good. I'm living large, but I'm worried about the rest of the populace. Okay. And so, why don't you put a loophole for offshore accounts? Why don't you put a loophole, or not a loophole?
Get rid of it.
Close the loophole of offshore accounts and this and that to make this prosperous for the last few years.
All right, Al, stay there. We got to go to break. We're going to come right back after the break. Stay with us. Al from Ministries here.